Hi and welcome to week 5 single source essay assignment tutorial. This week you're going to be writing a single source essay. To begin, you can go back to your week 3 assignment, and if it included a thesis statement and was focused on that thesis statement that included a stance and one supporting point, you're set to go. If not, I kind of want you to pay more close attention to this week's tutorial so that you can revise what you're doing to meet this week's expectations. What are this week's expectations? For this week's expectations, you're going to be writing a 350 to 525 word argument that communicates whether you agree or disagree with the article. Remember, in week 3, you had many articles to choose from. You could have chosen to read about how social media endangers knowledge, etc. There are lots of options. So whatever it is you're choosing, you're going to be writing a persuasive essay about it. You're going to be taking a stance on the topic. So let's look at how I can take what I did in week 3 on my essay that was about whether or not Google was making us stupid, and how I can expand that for my week 5 single source essay response. All right, in this case, if you'll remember, my thesis statement in week 3 was the author is right regarding the overdependence on Google. If deep diving into thinking stops and internet surfing continues, the human population is at risk to become mindless. Now, because I'm expanding this into a 5-paragraph essay, I'm going to add 2 more points to my essay. Because remember, an essay will include your introductory paragraph, and then it will have body paragraphs, and then it will have a conclusion. In this case, each of my points listed in my thesis statement is going to correlate to a body paragraph topic. Okay, so my first body paragraph topic is going to be about how the human population is at risk to become mindless. So in my scratch outline, it's going to look something like this. Here's my intro paragraph. My topic sentence is going to be the overdependence on Google is putting the human population at risk for mindlessness. I go back, I find some research, and I know that I can include that in my essay. And then I will explain that direct quote and expand on it, and my paragraph with a concluding sentence. Then I know my next body paragraph should focus on my second point listed in my thesis statement. In this case, I'm going to argue that the human population is at risk to become emotionless. Okay, so I go back, I look through my research, I find something to support that idea, and I'm going to find it and get it in my outline so I can easily transfer it over to my body paragraph. In this case, my topic sentence will focus on something about how the overdependence on Google is putting the human population at risk for emotionlessness. And here I found some paraphrased research. I took some information out of the research article that I used and paraphrased it, and here it is paraphrased. Okay, remember, paraphrased information should not be in quotation marks, and it should be accompanied by an in-text citation, including the author's last name and the year. Okay, so then my third point listed in my thesis statement becomes, after I've kind of figured out what I want to argue, is that the author is right regarding the overdependence on Google, and then if they continue to be overdependent on Google, the human population is at risk to become very inattentive. So I went back, I found some research that supports that. In this case, it's a direct quote, and I've pulled that out as well. Okay. Then let's look at what that looks like in a single source essay. Okay, remember, you'll have your title page here. Then you'll have your introductory paragraph that ends with your thesis statement that lists your 3 points. In this case, for the requirements of this assignment, you can also write a thesis statement that only lists 2 points, and in that case, you'll only have 2 body paragraphs, each one reflecting each point listed. Okay, so it's your choice. Do you want to write an essay with 3 body paragraphs or 2 body paragraphs? In this case, an example, I'm using the one with 3, and you can see how this all comes out in an essay format. My first body paragraph is focused on the idea that we become mindless when we are overly dependent on Google. Okay, then my next body paragraph is going to be focusing on how we also become emotionless when we are overly dependent on the internet in a cursory way. All right, and then my third body paragraph is going to focus on how Google induces inattentiveness in people. In this case, I talk about how regarding the constant onslaught of hyperlinks, blinking lights, incoming email alerts, and social media notifications, our attention is scattered at all times, and it diffuses our concentration. So that makes sense. And then I explain that. Then I'll transition into my concluding sentence and paragraph, where I will repeat my thesis statement and bring closure to the overall essay. Don't forget to also include your reference down below. So I hope this helps and provides a strong example for you to use when creating your own single source essay this week. If you have any questions, please let me know. You've got this. Take care. Bye-bye.